working. Hopefully it is. It says I'm live. Fantastic. Yeah, well. Okie dokie, sword friends. So this is a different type of video than I've done in the past, in that I get asked all the time to share my collection with folks, and it's a long video. So I thought, well, I have to clean the sumbitch, so why not? Why not just do it live on stream? I don't know if I'll clean the entirety of the stuff I have, but you might get to see some odds and ends that perhaps you haven't in the past, and it's a good time to ask questions and all of that kind of stuff. Now, camera is over here, laptop is over here. You're going to get all my bad angles today, but you might get to see some stuff that's interesting, or maybe you won't. Yeah, it's like I think of it as somebody like watching somebody else do dishes. Mostly what I use to clean, because I haven't used anything today, is I put CLP. I always have some extra of this sitting around. Make sure I have another tube. I use various rags and stuff, and that's basically what I'm going to be smearing on the swords today. If I use a sword, then this cleaning isn't exactly a tutorial. It's just me doing a chore. If I use a sword, though, then I clean it a little differently. I might do something entirely different. I've probably made videos on it, so I'm not going to harp on that. Anyway, looking over at chat here. Legion, hello. William, hello. Omega, hello, hello. And who else is here? Kai Pao, hello. Shane, hello. I'm surprised. It says there's 15 people in here waiting for me to do my laundry, basically. Okay. Other thing that I typically use are these blue shop towels. I get them at Costco. They sell them in a big big chunk of them. I can talk super good today. And when you clean as many swords and stuff, these don't leave. Well, I use them. That's the point of buying in bulk. You can get them usually in an auto parts store as well if you don't need them in bulk, but they don't leave scratches and stuff. So if you're handling things with finer polish, then these blue shop towels tend not to leave marks on them, where the white paper towels would usually leave some scratches and stuff in some of the finer polishes. I don't know if I have anything with a finer polish out just yet. Also, I know I'm Captain Disclaimer at the start of videos, but I have pulled some stuff first that is usually in a corner and that you might not see on like the background and stuff, but I have to clean everything in the background too. So I'm gonna have to do weird pauses to like walk around and get stuff and all of that. But anyway, first sword that I have to clean is this guy right here. This is a Badger Blades. It's made out of 1075. These are sold at a Renfest. A long time ago, I did a review on one, and it's a little underwhelming. It's a big sharpened crowbar. It handles, because this is one of the lighter ones, not terribly, but it lacks all the refinement of a sword, but is also rather durable. This one's been sharpened, and it's a hexagonal or octagonal, perhaps, diamond cross section, now that it has like a big old secondary bevel on it. But I don't know. It's fine for a Renfest, so don't thwap myself in the head with them. Let's see, what do I have? I'm going to use a dirty towel. And this is already used towel, but I'm just basically going to smear some CLP on it and then just give everything a coat. That is all I'm doing. This coat usually lasts for, I don't know. I guess I've had stuff that has gone like a year or more and been fine. But most of the stuff that I have sits indoors and doesn't really have much cause to get harmed. So I've had it last that long. It coats pretty well. It has a mechanical machine smell, but it's minor. If you have really sensitive schnoz, then it's probably not ideal, because it does have that kind of machine oil smell. But I don't find it particularly irritating, and it coats and kind of lingers pretty well. So I use this on the Albions that I have out, and they still rust. So it's not great. I have trouble keeping up with them. They require a lot more maintenance, but for most things, I don't have too much problem with it. And anyway, that's one down. This has all kinds of little rust bits and bobs on it, and I'm not going to bother cleaning those. They were there when I bought that one. I'll try to look over. I'm going to be terrible, admittedly, at comments today, because this is less of a live and more of me wiping my butt, so to speak. But I'm going to try and look over at the comment section between swords just to see if there's any questions on them. But I won't. My hands are all oily and stuff, so I usually try to answer everyone's questions. That's probably not going to happen today. In advance, I apologize. Your questions are valuable to me, and I appreciate you asking them. I hope you understand my my inability to do so today. Anyway, so I'm gonna try and do it. If only I had Joe's skill at managing lives. He's in here today. Hey, Joe. All right. Hard not to love the Zatoichi blade. I don't have one of those at the moment. All right. Anyway, next one. This is a Nepalese Kukri house. Kukri, they make a few varieties of them, and this is one of them. I happen to think this is stupid, and I like it probably the least out of the Kukris that I have. It's very ornate, and I think it just is, it gets lost. The details on the spine and stuff, I appreciate they're there, but they don't really add a lot of charm to me. They seem kind of crude. The kind of carving and stuff on here is also meh. You know, it's okay, but it looks, I don't know, kind of tchotchke, a little bit like a souvenir store kind of carving rather than something very well done. And I get that it's a tool. As it is, though, the wooden one that I have here, I have a few of these. This one doesn't jam into my hand if I used it. Kind of it's for intended purpose, and it's not as bad nimbly. It's just the aesthetic I don't like. And then it has this little, it like clicks. The brass separates when I use this scabbard. So fantastic. And then isn't this just the cutest little knife that's in there? I feel like this must be what my daughter looks like when she's playing with her My Little Pony toys or something. Anyway, a little bit of stuff on that. There we go. And now it's clean. Zatoichi blade, anything on the Kukri house one? Nope. All right, it's going over here. This is a cold steel gun stock war club, and it's made out of plastic. And these are supposed to be like Native American gun stock. You know, this is supposed to have the shape of a gun stock that has had a spike put into it and turned into a club. I think that's what they are. I could be attributing them wrong, but I want to say that it's like a Native American thing. I suppose gun stocks. Maybe other people did it too. Not sure. Anyway, it's already rusty and schmutzy. I haven't played with this or really honestly done much with it. It is very effective, though. I will give it that. It has this material that they make it out of, this polypropylene or whatever it is pretty durable stuff, and you can hit things really hard with it. I've played with it a little, but at the same time, not in a way that really shows how effective it is or isn't. But it seems to be a decent. I don't know. I can hit things hard with it, but that's as far as I've really looked into it. So I have no idea if this is a common thing that a person can buy, or if there are better options out there. This one just seems to do what it's supposed to do reasonably well. And usually I think these plastic things from cold steel tend to be on the cost-effective side. Okay, so as promised, the rest of my stuff is on the floor over there. Some of it. So I'm gonna get some. You'll see me walk out of frame, and I'm sorry. This is one of my favorite swords. And when people ask me about home defense, this is one of the things that I kind of go to very quickly. This is a, I forgot to look at the Gunstock War Club. Were there any questions on that? Joe, you're welcome to. We can get on a blade talk and just be cleaning our collections on the background and all gab at each other because it's hard to manage this. Those Gunstock War Clubs are badass. I own one. I can throw the spike into a stump. Handy dandy. I have tendency to have bad. I wouldn't want to get it thrown at me, Eric. And hello, by the way. Anyway, all right. So this is was made by John Ledemoh. I got this blade kind of as a bear blade. Somebody didn't want it anymore, didn't do anything with it, and it was his attempt at a gununting. But you can see that it doesn't really have the profile. It's a little bit thin. It doesn't maybe have the curve that a gununting would. And he wasn't particularly happy with it, so it didn't get his typical level of finish, but he treated it, and it's basically made by a competent person, even though it's a reject from them, if you will. And I love it. So I sent it off to the Mystery Man in Black and had him put just a handle on it, and he put basically almost a Japanese-style handle on it. This is made out of Osage orange, and it's almost like a bokin handle. This little nub of a peg is also put through it. It used to have a screw on the bottom to retain, but it doesn't. This is not terribly comfortable, but it locks in your hand, and it's not, I wouldn't use it like a machete in the woods, but as a home defense tool, it certainly locks into my hand, and I don't mind the discomfort for short periods. It has this little swell. I love Filipino-style blades. I like the way they move in my hand. I like the style, but I don't like the grips very much. They're usually, or have been in the past, cylindrical. They get bulbous. They break my grip in some ways, and it, I don't know, just wasn't my style. So this has a more gentle taper, almost like a saber grip, and it has a little nubbin at the bottom to kind of retain my grip if I want to go down. I absolutely love the way this thing moves around. It's one of my favorite swords in terms of feeling. And if people ask about home defense swords, not that this would be a choice or that I'm even qualified to comment on the subject, but this is short. I feel like I could move it around in relatively confined spaces. It's easy and nimble. It's not terribly sharp at the moment, but it could be. It's got a little bit of kind of a false edge on the back, but enough where I could use it and poke and move things around or brace myself if somebody was trying to swing something at me. Not that this would be great again, but anyway, one of my favorite swords, and I can't keep touching it if the objective is to clean it. Getting lost. This was a bad idea. This is taking way more time to clean things than it typically does if I do it if I do it not on camera. All right. 22 people wanting to watch me do dishes. I am surprised. But anyway, going through them. That was the John Ledemoh Filipino Gununting, or something, kind of a custom iteration of it. Hopefully that was interesting. So I don't have to keep. So this is one that you probably saw recently if you're a friend of the channel. This is the 300 sword. I believe it's Windlass or something like it, though it looks a little bit on the thin side to be from Windlass. They usually have thicker stocks. I'm not sure what it is, but it's from the movie 300. I think I compared this to like the Dawson 3V blade that I was playing with recently. This one's all rusty and nasty, but anyway, it gets a coat of oil anyway. It's not a cool sword. I don't like it. It's one of the reasons I haven't reviewed it. It's thin. I don't know if you can buy one like this anymore. It has no taper. This one has been used a little bit, and it's certainly got signs of it. The D guard, I mean, I wouldn't want to get knocked in the face with it, but it seems a missed opportunity to have. I don't get it. It's also obnoxiously heavy. These are solid steel, which I've come to find is better than it could be. Yeah, and the shape, I don't know. I find it limiting. I don't know why I don't get it. Anyway, not my favorite sword. Oh, just bought in Scratch and Dent Dojo Pro number 6. Only thing was wrong with it was the paint on the side. I got lucky. Well, glad you got it, Omega. Hope you're happy. On your Sageos, dust tend to accumulate on mine. Sometimes I can blow those out with like compressed air or something like that. I try not to wipe the Sageos down because they do, when they get dusty, I just tend to wipe the dust into the Sageo and I don't find that it comes off. So I will typically, sometimes there's like a microfiber cloth that will pull dust away. Otherwise, I'll break it out to a compressor with compressed air. Sometimes you can get canned air and blow it off outside, and that tends to do it. Ennis, what are your thoughts on swords made from obsidian? I know there's the Maori or there's club weapons with that are in the shape of a sword with obsidian on them, and they're they can be very, very sharp and very brittle. It doesn't seem to be as effective as alternatives, but as a mix between like a club that cuts. I mean, they were used because they were effective, but it seems a bit like the shark tooth club or something like that. If steel wasn't an option, then that is it's awesome. And I also think they look really cool. Obsidian has a particular dark color to it, which is kind of magical looking, and the broken glass club is, I don't know, they have a really cool look to them, but as a practical weapon, I don't know that it would be my first choice. It certainly wouldn't be my first choice, especially because I'm really unfamiliar with it. Thank you for the super chat, by the way. I will be right back. Super chats gave me an idea. Grab another sword while I'm over here. Drinking on stream. I'll celebrate your super chat with some scotch. Because doing chores on scotch seems like a better idea. I finally got some more scotch, so I'm happy about it. Cheers and thanks for the super chat. All right. This is the Schloss Ernstbach, I believe, Arms and Armor sword. I can't remember if this is an 18B or if they call it an 18C, but it is really cool. I don't personally like the way this sword looks. The kind of squared off little crossguard section there with the twisty, I don't know. Arms and Armor has the original piece here, and this looks pretty spot on. I find it kind of funny that the Albion museum line stuff is so much money for a museum line sword. And it's also not, they're certainly revised versions of the museum sword in the sense that they have the Albion look to them, and that's fantastic, and I love it. So don't get me wrong, I'm not poo-pooing it. But they do charge quite a bit more for a museum line reasons. But the Arms and Armor one, they have the original piece in the Oakshot collection, and this looks pretty spot on, and I've gotten a chance to hold the original, and actually I was thinking about doing a video over at Arms and Armor where I take this sword and the original and a newer version, because I guess when they made mine, this is 20 years old, and when they made it, they were working off photos and measurements they had taken when they were visiting the collection, but now that the collection is at Arms and Armor effectively, they do a more accurate job, and so it's really the spitting image of the original piece, and so it's kind of like the museum line piece, but it's not in the same price category. Also, this one, despite its looks, is really, really amazing feeling. I love the way this sword feels. I think I already did a video about it, so you don't need to hear me nag on it, but happen to really like it. Where was I? Again, so now 23 people are watching me do dishes. So if you haven't seen the beginning, I'm just cleaning stuff up today, and I have greasy hands from doing this, so I'm going to glance over at chat, but I won't be able to work through everyone's questions the way I typically do. So I appreciate the questions. I value them. I won't be able to get to them all, and ask them again, or have somebody repost them, I guess, if somebody asks a good question and I miss it. But I'm going to try and glance over and get at it. All right. Also, if I could ask people in chat to do that @taggy thing, that really helps me know if it's a question for me versus just a question in chat. Because I see some folks are tagging other. I didn't realize how useful that was, but that does help me identify if you have a question for me about the thing that I'm doing. Incidentally, this is the thing that I'm doing. This sword right here. This is an Angus trim 1555. It's one of his older swords. It's really pretty long. It's also, I don't know if I'd call it whippy, but it certainly has a, it flexes a lot. I can grab it with the rag. You can see that it has a pretty good amount of give to it. It's still really fun to move around. And this was one of the first, like, much longer than average swords that I think one of the first ones that I've kept for any length of time. I do happen to really like the way it feels. I feel like I still have a good amount of point control, and it still moves and gets to where I want to cut pretty quickly. So happen to really like that one. It's one of the reasons you probably haven't seen it. Eighth Sinner, thank you for doing the thing. I can actually see, like, it shows up as bright orange on my screen, so it's much easier to pull out. Some people also request questions being caps makes it easy to see too. Yes, that is the tagging me with the @Matthew Jensen that Eighth Sinner just did is really helpful, because at least on my screen it shows up as bright orange, so I can clearly tell when somebody's asking me something. Helpful. Thank you for calling that out. Thank you for doing it. Running out of shelf space here. Okay, so next one is this thing. I don't know what it is. This is a some sort of arming sword, but I have no idea actually who made it or what it is. It came from somebody who had a collection of very, very high-end and low-end. He was an eclectic collector, and I believe his collection was getting sold out or something like that. But I think the same collection that I bought the Maximilian from, I also got this from. And I wasn't sure what it was, but it wasn't terribly expensive. So I said, what the heck? Maybe it's something cool. It's not. It's very heavy. So it's pretty wide. It's dull. The grind lines on it aren't bad, and it's reasonably smooth. It looks like some mix of hammer and power tools. It also has this really big pommel on it, this very large wheel pommel on it, which isn't something that I had seen in mass production stuff. So I still don't know who made this, and it hasn't been, it's not very expensive. So I'm not sure what to make of it, but I don't think you can get one. So I've been hesitant to talk about it in reviews and things, because I try to keep reviews to things that are either going to help you make a decision or decide or do something on future sword related projects or endeavors, and not just because because I don't know what the hell they are. And that's what this is. I don't think you can go buy one. I don't think there's anything that I see that's exactly like it. This is one that could use more than a little bit of oil. So this, I can't remember if it seems like it's a Windlass. Yes, it is. It says Windlass India on it. I totally know what's going on. This is like a falcata or some sort of interpretation of it, maybe. I'm not sure. There was a name for it. I can't remember what it is off the top of my head. But as it is, it doesn't have any particular taper to it. This one has been used. I got it along with a bunch of other stuff in a package of swords, and I don't actually mind it. The way the blade is set in isn't so bad for Windlass. It has this nice little swell in the grip that I find really, really comfortable, and the lack of distal taper in this short blade lends itself to being, it feels like a really big kukri. It's kind of what it feels like, and it's comfortable. I don't mind it at all. I've been meaning for a very long time to clean it up and do something like put a better edge on it and then use it as like a camp machete or something, but it just hangs on the wall. You guys are gonna give me in trouble if you keep doing the super chats. Ennis, are big broad blade swords practical? Not really. Everything, as our mutual friend Matt Easton, I'm sure, would say, it depends on context. So big broad swords can be effective, but it depends. For me personally, as I think about some sort of dueling situation or a situation where you need to be fast, which is a lot of situations, I wouldn't favor a big broadsword. Something like this is I mean, if I hold the last two up that are actually kind of interesting. So this is big and broad, but because of its size, I actually feel like I'm a lot more nimble despite what this might look like. It has reach, but this feels more clumsy with the tip. I feel like I'm slower to recover with it, not just because it's in my left hand. As for this, I feel like I can throw it out. I feel like I can recover, get back to defensive positions, throw it out, put my sword in the way of maybe harassing blows or do some kind of against counters. This is, and also incidentally, the grip. I like the way it locks into my hand. I feel secure, even though it's a simple wood grip. The swells are in a place that are ergonomic. By contrast, this one doesn't have a lot of taper. And so as I throw that tip out there, it really feels clunky in my hand. It's kind of hard to get tip speed, and it's hard to control and stop. The wheel pommel, I'm not a huge fan of them. It rubs into the fat of my hand. And this grip is a bit on the wider side. Now touching it, I'll have to clean it again. And it's a little too big, even for my big dumb hand. So this is not something I would want to be in a situation that requires dueling or fast movement. I'm sure in competent hands it might be able to perform that way, but I would hands down choose this, which seems like a big dumb broadsword over this. I'm not sure the difference in weight since I'm just cleaning them, but yes, and sure, Joe will make a drinking game out of it. And as cheers, thanks for the super chat. Not quite a shot, but scotch. Down into my belly. Steel forged in fire. Now take a shot. Yep, I followed through. That one looks pretty rough on the cutting edge. It is. I didn't get to do anything fun with it, but the previous owner certainly did. I tend to buy swords in like packs. The other day, I bought a collection of things on Craigslist, and some of them were garbage. And I think I have some in the pile down there to show, so I'll mention it. But I was on Craigslist. I paid $60 for a pack of swords, and in it, I think, is a windlass mace and a really old Hanwei naginata. So the shaft is bent. It's a cylindrical shaft. The fittings are way different than anything I've seen on the current Hanwei naginata, but the tang is signed and kind of looks like Hanwei, and the Suba kind of, maybe I'll get to it eventually. But I bought a big pile of swords. There was something in there that I thought it would be all right, and I got some garbage in it, and that's where this came from. But I don't think it's total garbage, because I actually kind of like the way it feels. It just needs a little love. I think I got all the questions. Zoro, your review on the Mitsudome katana from Iron Tiger Forge was a bad omen for my friend. He was cutting with his, and it broke into multiple pieces. That's a bummer. It's helpful to hear that kind of stuff, because if it broke into multiple pieces, that would indicate that there's a lot of variation on the hardness. Mine was pretty soft and took a bend, and that was not the case. It didn't break into multiple pieces until really prompted, unless your friend was doing some shenanigans like me. Shane, what are you drinking? I should get him to sponsor. This is Kirkland Scotch. It's a 12-year blend. In terms of like being thrifty, this bottle is, at least where I am, $35, and I don't mind it. In terms of being thrifty with Scotch, I enjoy it. Now, of course, I think like the 15-year Macallan. I don't know if I'm saying it correctly. I like that at Costco. I've been trying to cut back though. It's been a minute since I've had Scotch, so yeah, I have some beer every now and again, but it's been a minute, and I recall liking this one, and it wasn't too crazy on the pocketbook. Tell us about S7 again. Joe, I'll save that for the next time I get invited to Blade Talk. I can answer every question with S7. Running out of space. This is a cold steel Italian longsword. And it is, I think, my favorite sword from Cold Steel. Now, maybe I like the Nagamaki, but even, I don't know. This just doesn't feel like a bad sword. I don't know if I need to clean these quillions and stuff either, but But this, it has some failings, specifically in the leather. You can't necessarily see it in the way I'm doing it now, but it moves like it's not secured. So I think it's going to tear or rip with any significant amount of use. It's also very hard, like it's, I don't know, it feels like it's a plastic core or something. The stitching on the side is not particularly comfortable, but I've certainly felt worse for the money. But the blade, I like the way this feels. It feels like, you know, it has the profile of a Poke Boy, and I feel like I could deliver the tip where I need it to, and I don't mind it. I don't mind it. I mean, I don't. This is not a review. I have no idea how much it is, and oftentimes I can do a review, then think like, oh, I remember this better, the other sword for the same amount of money, and it was way better. But in general, I don't think it feels like ass, and that's always the concern. Is in the serendipitous that I have this one next, the Cold Steel 1796 saber, which is not good feeling. it's not very pleasant at all. It feels big and dumb and stupid and dumb in the hand. It's a wrist breaker. Getting the tip out there, I'm sure I'm not throwing, you know, I don't know how to use. I use two-handed sabers all the time, katana, but this is not a particularly fun feeling. I recall, I think it was Mike Rizzo who also has one of these and like ground some stuff down, and he said that I want to say that he did that, and it could be conflating things though, but it seems like a candidate to maybe try putting in some distal taper myself and lighten it, because it feels like the bones are there. There's a nice fat bit at the cross section. It has some taper in it. It's just not quite where it needs to be to feel good. Shift here in a minute, otherwise I'm going to bang swords together. Okay. Uh-oh. Joe, thank you for moderating, my friend. Thank you for moderating. I'm missing the naked sex spammers. Okay. All right. Anyway, yeah. Again, I see there's more people in the chat or in the room. I'm doing chores. If I don't see your question, it really helps me if you tag me with the @Matt Jensen. It shows up in orange on my screen. It's hard for me to scroll around because my hands are getting oily with the cleaning and stuff. So anyway, welcome to watching me do dishes. Hey, Sinner, have you been working on sharpening, modifying seams? You're never too comfy with that sort of stuff. You're right. I would say I'm serviceable at sharpening. I'm getting a little better at it, but I still don't like it. I was doing it the other day and cut through a belt and had it come around and slap me in the face, so that wasn't fun. But I can kind of get an edge on things. I don't particularly like. I don't know that I'm qualified to like give any kind of tutorial on it. I have a belt sander from Harbor Freight. It was like $50. And then I bought like a $50 set of belts from Amazon for like knife making. And they came with 400, 600, 800, and 1,000 grit belts. And then I got a leather stropping belt from the same company. And I'll put some jeweler's rouge on it to kind of do some of the final polish. Though I'm finding now that the same belt that was giving me a finer edge, I don't know if there's too much compound on it or it's just worn out, but it pulls the edge away. So the strop is not helping me like it did before. But that's what I did use. And if I'm being real finicky with like a knife, then I'll bring it in and I have a 3,000 grit whetstone and a 6,000 grit whetstone. And I'll finish them off by hand for kitchen knives. I haven't done that on swords though. This, by the way, is a Hanwei basket hilt broadsword to some. My hands, as I'm holding it right now, my knuckle is pressed against the metal bits here, and it is not comfortable. Fortunately, it has this kind of felt pad in there but it would chafe miserably if I continued to actually use it. It's reasonably solid though, all in all. It's certainly a handsome looking thing, but I've been somewhat nervous to actually use it because it feels like I am going to be punching the basket hilt quite a bit. The sword blade though feels actually really quite good, and I wish I saw it in other swords. It has two nice little fullers that run down. There's some etching. I don't know exactly what's in there. A little bolstered ricasso area there. A false tip towards the, I don't know, top fifth of the blade. And it has a cross section that seems to run all the way down to the edge without a secondary bevel. And it really feels very controllable. It's not, the weight is focused down here. It really feels excellent. I wish the basket was just a bit, I don't know. I wish they had an XL version of the basket. Are your hands stupid big? You need the XL basket. Ennis, you're going to get me in trouble. I'll get to you in a second, though. Shot included. Not shot, but I'll take some more scotch. I'm due for it. Message me on Facebook if you want some tips. I may do that. I tried to stay away from sharpening, in fairness, but at this point, I think I could use some tips. Almost bought the Hanwei basket hilt after handling a friend's. I was consistently catching my knuckles on the metal basket. That's what's going on with me. What are your thoughts on daggers? Well, thank you for the super chat, Ennis. Yummy. That is daggers. I personally am less a fan of. I think they're elegant and beautiful, and I can appreciate them when they're well done. I don't have many. I have one from Sabersmith. I've had some other odds and ends ones around, and I like the ones from Arms and Armor and Todd Cutler and Todd's workshop. But I don't generally have, like, I don't wear them. I don't use them. I don't practice with them. And in terms of like my preference, I wouldn't carry a dagger. I'd carry a fixed blade. Usually I tend to like drop tip fixed blade knives. And so that would be my preference in terms of a knife. But daggers are cool looking. I don't study like how to use them. They don't fit well within a kit that I have. But if I ever got into some sort of system that involved using them, I might have more critiques. For me, they're kind of a novelty. I can appreciate them because they look like bibby swords, but that's kind of the extent of it. I do like knives, though. I just don't talk much about them because there's folks like Joe over here who who talks about knives and scab, and some other folks that are certainly more competent about them. Forget about Blade Show in Atlanta. Let's go to, yeah. There's a few. I'm nowhere near done. I don't know if I'm going to get through all of it. How long has it been? I've been doing it for 40 minutes. I've not gotten through enough of them. This is one of those piece of crap swords that I got in the lot with the Naginata. It is, I don't know what, but it's hot garbage, and you may see it as a, I don't know what to explain. This is, it's not good, but it's oiled now. Have you tried a whetstone sharpening polishing? I got a set recently, sharpened my Dojo Pro number 30 on it. Cuts like a demon. Wasn't that hard. I've done it with kitchen knives. I haven't attempted whetstone sharpening on a sword. I've never even tried it. I've used the belt sander, and that's the extent of it. Or like a ceramic rod by hand, but I haven't done the whetstone with the sword. This is a cold steel small sword, I think. I think that's what it is. I don't mind this one either. I don't really have a whole lot of idea of what they're supposed to feel like. And I don't, as I think of like a small sword, though, I think of this bottom third being bolstered in some way. So maybe this is not intended to be like that, though. But there are some cool things about it. I like the detailing in the guard. It's not bad, considering that I don't think this is terribly expensive. The quillins, one is swept this way, the other way, so it kind of has this sweeping look to it. There is some wire wrap on the grip, which personally wire wrap looks fantastic. I don't like the feeling of it on my hands though. So anyway, and I'm guessing is made out of some sort of stainless steel because they don't oil it very often, and it's not terribly corroded or anything. But I'm gonna wipe it down now. I don't mind it. I don't mind this sword for what it is though. But I don't know how good an example it is. I'm gonna guess not very, but anyway. Tengu, why aren't you at Blade Show? I have a baby at home, and I have limited travel options. So if I do want to travel, it'll either be as a vacation with my family, and going to Hotlanta during the school time towards the end of the school year is not a vacation that I can take with family. And the times that I take to travel related to swords are either like while I'm on vacation in a place, if there's a sword related thing or person that I can visit, I go do that. Otherwise, I kind of reserve the time to go to like seminars and things like that if I have to travel with them. I haven't gotten to do that much lately though, but I usually went to one for Katori every year. Any interest in testing out a Valiant Brighton? I'm in the Twin Cities area, would love a far more expert's thoughts. I'm not an expert, but sure, I would be happy to whack it into things if that's what you're asking. Ping me on Facebook, Matt, and we can set something up. Spider Call Ultra Fine. Got my katana hair splitting sharp. Nearly no effort. Good touch-up stone. That's worth taking a look at. I haven't tried the whetstone. I did the other day, and I have it in the pile here. I sharpened my mercenary. I finally put an edge on it, and it's better. It's not quite where it needs to be, but I really didn't want to screw it up. So I'm a novice, even more so in that area. First time I tried whetstone on the katana, I mucked up one of my first blades. It's an art needless and needs patience. Fair enough. All right, getting cottonmouth. I rarely get parched while cleaning, but here we go. This is a review sample from Romance of Men, and I'm working on stuff with them. Must have had this out for, it's actually pretty clean. There's just some things about it that are mucky, and I've told them as much, and basic gist is they're working on it. So I got one sample from Romance of Men, and I said, hey, the Ito is still pretty crappy. So they said, hey, can you hold off on the review for a minute? Let's see if we can address your concerns. And I said, well, I'm going to have to include it, but I can try to combine the one that you will send and show the improvement. But anytime you send me something for a public review, I have to include it. And they sent me this one. Now, good news is the Ito is not great, frankly, but it's probably at maybe a little looser than the Ronin katana, or right on par with the last Dojo Pro number 30. So I'll call it getting by the skin of its teeth kind of thing. Like, it doesn't feel like it's going to come loose immediately, but it's looser than it should be, and it kind of warrants. It's at that point where right away I consider like lacquering it or doing something to tighten it up. But there's also like a weird step here, and like the habaki is not fit right. The blade is very clean though, and it is extremely sharp. So I let them know about the issues, and they said, hey, can you wait again? And I said, I sure. So they are going to be sending a third iteration, which hopefully addresses the concerns. And you'll get to see more of these, and I will present the Romance of Men katana and the hopeful improvements that I'm seeing along the way. Well, I have them here. I'm running out of space. This was the second sword they sent me. So I did a review on the first one, and I just did the review on that one. And then I got this one, and I told them that, like I said, the Ito was just looser than it needs to be. So you can kind of see on this one, I can pull the Ito around and move it, and that's you know, same level of not acceptable as on the first one. This one though doesn't have the weird step, and the habaki is fit well. The transitions are not as bad. The segeo is not as nice, and it's in this white shape. But anyway, you will see more of them in the future. Missing stuff. Pentonic. Mr. Jensen, what products do you use to wipe the blade? I've been using isopropyl alcohol. Recommendations. At the moment, I'm not wiping them down with anything other than CLP. So for folks that might be in here, geez, there's 36 people now watching me do my dishes. I use break-free CLP, and I haven't used any of these sorts for practice. I haven't handled them much. My fingers are pretty oily at this point from this stuff. Anyway, so I'm just wiping them down with break-free. This is kind of like a maintenance thing. They hang on the wall. If I cut with them and there's goo or something on them, then I might use isopropyl. I might use Mother's Mag and clean it off or something like that. And then I finish it off with this stuff. So I apply it to a cotton cloth or something that's not going to scratch it, like this blue shop towel, or in this case, I'm using this, you know, remnant of a t-shirt, and I apply this stuff to a rag, then wipe it on. I find that it coats pretty well, and that's what I leave it in. Yeah, so that's what it is. Incidentally, if you're new, I keep saying this, I'm sorry if I can't get to your questions. Usually I go through and read them, and I'm far behind chat. I don't want to touch my computer with my gooey hands. So if I miss your question, I'm sorry, and please tag me. If you see people saying @MattJensen, for me, that shows up as like this bright orange thing on the screen, and it's easy to tell when somebody's asking me a question. So I'll try to keep reminding folks as I see them. All right, this is another one from Romance of Men, a wakizashi. So I actually reached out to him and said, you know, I don't have an example of a wakizashi to show stuff with. Would you mind sending one? And they did. This one has one of those like darkened blades, and it's neat looking. It has kind of a weird ladder pattern. It's kind of it's different anyway in terms of the hata, the pattern of the steel, and it also has bubbies on the on the kasha and fuchi. It's got I keep forgetting the name. There's a style of that like adult material on Japanese style fittings, but they did exist historically. They were very rare, not common, but they did exist, and it has some of them. So that's neat anyway. The waki I will eventually do a review on. I just haven't gotten to it. I won't break it, but I will smack it around. This is a very old sword from Ronin katana. I think this might be my first broken promise on YouTube. I was supposed to break this, I think, and I just never got around to it. But this is a prototype from Ronin katana from many, many moons back. And I don't think I'm not sure exactly. I don't think they went with the manufacturer that made these. So this was from a sampling of things. I did a video on some of it, and I used it, and it's certainly not, it's in degraded condition, but it's still, it's bent. But I didn't break it, and I kept it around as an example of like doing other sword on sword type stuff. And I don't think I've used it as a prop in anything, but there's that. More swords. Okay. This one probably doesn't need cleaning, but for the sake of giving attention to everyone. This is the LK Chen Magnificent Chujin. I really like this sword. I did a review on it. People have said, Matt, you seem more positive about this sword than you tend to be about most. It was more of a glowing review than a lot of swords get. So I really like the sword, though. It feels really nice in my hand. I like that it's, you know, an interpretation or closely resembles something that could have existed in history, at least proportionally. I like the geometry too. It has deep hollow grinds, and then has this neat little taper towards the top third of the blade. And the grip is ovoid up here, cylindrical at the base. It feels just excellent in the hand. It's a really cool sword. and I enjoyed using it. Now I didn't end up breaking it, but I did whack it into a brass fitting on a metal drum, and it held up to that and didn't show any damage. So I've enjoyed swinging it around, and I put it back in the scabbard. Now I did fix the scabbard as well. It took some doing, and I took this end piece off, and I took a large brass rod and taped sandpaper to it and moved around. And I thought that it was binding somewhere in here, but it was actually binding more towards the mouth area of the sword. So I had to get in there and remove a reasonable amount of material to get it to actually close. And now it doesn't fall out, but I can, with a little pull, get it to come out. So I'm happy with the retention. I'm gonna call it good. I kind of broke the scabbard a little bit, but not so much that I couldn't glue it back together and put a Sharpie on it and have it look okay. Ooh, I'm missing questions. A Sinner is the top question I see. What are your thoughts on the notion of cursed swords like the Muramasa? Just a way, maybe, I don't know. I don't really give a lot of credence to the curved swords. I did hear somebody at like a Nihonto show say that the Muramasa tangs were small, so maybe while people were cleaning them, they dropped them, and that's where, you know, the legend came from. But I really don't know. I don't give a lot of credence to the kind of superstitious cursed swords, but I think it's cool. It certainly adds to the story, which I find fun. But that's I suppose as far as I take it. Omega, what would you say is the monetary value of your collection? I know you got some free review samples and whatnot, but if you absolutely had to sell your collection, how much? I have no idea, honestly. There's a few reasons I have no idea, and I'm not going to actually answer you. One is, I think if I tallied it up, how much I've spent on it, and really had a clear idea of what it is, I would not want to buy it anymore. And I think my wife might enforce that. Two, I'm live on YouTube, and if I say a big number, I post under my real name, and I'm probably not a hard person to find, so I don't know if it's a thing that I'd really want to put out there, but a reasonable amount, more than I'm frankly comfortable with. Most of these that you're seeing, let's see, the Schloss, I want to keep. The 1555, I want to keep. The Chujin, that's a review sample that I want to keep and hang on to. The Gununting is up for sale, even though it's one of my favorites. And everything else is marked for like destruction or sale, really, or like as a visual aid for YouTube. I know I was planning on breaking this one too. I will probably eventually, but I don't know if there's a whole lot of point. It's a rather goofy weapon to do. But most of the stuff that I have, like the small sword and the most of the other blades that you haven't seen me make a review on, I bought them with the intention of making content on YouTube, and then I want to get rid of them and not have my money tied up in them. So yeah, that is it. But short answers is a pretty reasonable amount. I mean, you probably see my eBay page. There's some of those up for sale there, and it's a more money than I should have tied up in any hobby, that's for sure. All right. Let's see. It looks like I have to do some work here. Somebody is putting nasty sex stuff in here. Fantastic. Hang on, gotta do it or YouTube gets mad at me. I don't know why when I tag somebody that's spamming stuff, it doesn't like remove all of the stuff. Anyway. All right. Omega, hopefully that answers your question. Close enough. Matt Jensen does recommend sex, but I wouldn't recommend that website. Adult consensual stuff. That's Matt Jensen endorsed. All right. Okay. After these two, we're going to take a brief intermission while I get the next batch close by. This is a Valiant Armory. Something. Malice. I Melisandre? No, I can't remember what this one is, but it's a Valiant Armory piece from a while ago. This is a sword that I do happen to like, but not one that I plan on keeping. It is whippy, I think is probably the appropriate term. Now, the cutting plane seems to be in about the right point. It's sharp, it moves really well, and it has all those like clear, characteristic, cool things that Valiant Armory does. The hilt is well put together. I think it's rather sharp on the kind of fluted scent stopper pommel, but I like the way it feels. I like the way it indexes. I think they did a fantastic job with the grip. The wooden scabbard is also like, it makes a very handsome package, handsome looking sword, and that's something that I see a lot from Valiant Armory. They really kind of bring the whole package, the whole look all together pretty well. The sword, however, is whippy and light, and I don't like it very much. So in practice, don't like it. In appearance, though, it's zazzy. Omega Gotcha, I've seen your eBay. Those are some expensive swords. They are. You should buy one. I think you have. I think if you have a hobby you love, as long as you're doing something you enjoy, the money doesn't matter as much. To an extent, I'm also trying to like buy a home, and a lot of money tied up in these resources makes that more challenging than it would be otherwise. So there's some stuff, but I'm not complaining. I really do enjoy the hobby. It's nice to have around. I also find that when things take me a long time to get to, my initial reactions as I move them around and kind of my, not that I've spent enough time on the things I haven't reviewed to really get a whole lot of opinion, but like the Cold Steel Italian longsword, I kind of thought it was dumb when I first got it. And the more I play with it, I kind of start to like it a little bit more. Some things that I thought I liked, I start to think are a little more dumb. This Valiant Armory piece was one. When I first got it, I was maybe a little googly-eyed by the looks. I thought it was a very handsome sword. And now the whippiness, it throws me off. So having them around for a little bit gives me a little bit of time to reflect. Maybe it would change my opinion a little bit. There are some that I like immediately upon getting, though, like the Schloss from Arms and Armor. I thought it was a dumb looking sword the first time I saw it on their website. But when I had the opportunity to buy one at a good price, I got it. And when I felt it in my hand, I was like, nope, it's a keeper. This is the Mercenary. I don't know why I stuttered there. And I sharpened it recently. I'm going to have to clean it again. And now I wouldn't want to run my fingers along it too much. I didn't do the best job. I don't have any paper around to cut, but I did a reasonable job. And now I need to do a follow-up because I think my Mercenary video was early when I started doing videos. And this is one of my favorite swords, and I think maybe deserves a little bit of follow-up now that I'm better with the camera and whatnot. So, and that I sharpened it and can kind of give it a fair shake. Okay. Ace Sinner, you're trying to buy a home with money. In the coming months, I'm trying to build one with no money. Yeah, well, that seems doubly hard. I wish you luck, sir. I don't know how one does that. You can build it on good vibrations. I'm not sure. Eric, I regret not buying the Gashadokuro. That was a fun one. It came up for sale and went a few times. I saw it on eBay come and go a few times. That was by far my favorite piece of your not exactly traditional custom pieces. I did go out on a limb with that one. Well, Eric, there's going to be, in the coming years, a My Little Pony katana. Let me tell you, you don't want to miss that opportunity. All right. Canada Goose, will I ship my swords internationally? I don't on eBay because they require the global shipping program, or at least that's what I do. So you can't buy one from me on eBay that way. If you reach out to me directly, Facebook or something, I can work it out. But generally speaking, with international folks, because there's just a lot of ways to get dicked. Not to say I have. That's actually, I am saying that. And so I'm pretty cautious about it. Usually I require some sort of wire transfer or something like that to work it out. And then, yeah. But short answer is yes, but you're accountable basically from the time it leaves my hands until it gets into your country. International post has been shitty, and sometimes various countries keep it, and I will send it to you at your word that you can get it. But yes, a lot of that I push a lot of that onto the person receiving it, which might be different, but I can't really afford to lose one. So anyway, the short answer is yes, but it requires some potential more effort than you might be used to on your part, in that you'll have to take on the risk of making sure that your customs won't seize it, provided that I fill out that it's a sword in the box and whatnot. And yeah, but short answer is yes. And good luck on that new home. Here's the thought: would you build yourself a weapon throne room? Game of Thrones? No. People have asked me to do that, Joe, with the broken bits and the no. I don't think it would be comfortable. I got little ones that would poke themselves. But I might make some sort of fun display for the broken bits or something like that. And I'm not far away from being done looking for a house. I think we're on the final. Hopefully it works out. Believe it or not, about a year ago, because I've been looking for over a year for a house, me and my wife made an offer on a home. It was accepted. And then when the inspector came in and looked at it, I was like, all right, I know it needs work, but I can paint and I can do that. I'm just looking for stuff that'll make it tip over. And he's like, oh, let's look at the first thing that would make it tip over. Come over here. And I was like, so yeah, didn't work out the first time. But I'm hopeful. I'm optimistic that this time it will. And I think hopefully by winter time, it'll work itself out. So we'll see. But I appreciate the good lucks. Only because you brought it up this time. Any finished ideas on My Little Pony? Not quite yet. I keep bouncing back and forth. It remains Rainbow Dash, but a lot of it is contingent. Right now, I've got some questions out for potential people that could make fittings. And so which way that can work is kind of the question. I've asked the folks at Beiser if they can do some fittings. And if I do that, then the kind of blue silk and traditional Ito wrap is one way, but I got to know what it's going to cost and what it's going to be. Other folks could do fittings, but then they're $1,200 for fittings, and that kind of budget even further out of the water. Mike De La Vega, who did the Highlander katana, he can make resin handles, and so we've been kind of talking a little bit about what it would take to make a resin handle. But my concern there is that the resin handle was white and that it was also a little bit flexible, which is great because if you drop it or something like that, it doesn't instantly break. However, this is supposed to be a really colorful thing. So I don't know if, and I've been told that the lacquer that would go on the scabbard would not go on the handle, and further that, anyway, so it could not probably work out with a resin handle if I can't get it to be colored, because I don't know if a white handle would work the same way, at least with the iteration that I'm trying to go through here. Also, they tend to be like an ivory color. Anyway, there's color challenges to get it to look right. So haven't come up with anything yet, but still working on it. All right, I've been learning to refit swords, wrapping Ito and whatnot. Would it be okay to send one, have it critiqued? Sure. Omega, that's totally fine. Ping me on the Facebooks or something. We can work something out. Happy to do it. Yeah, you can send me a ska or something like that, and I'm happy to give you feedback on it. All right. So now I am out of. No, I'm not out of swords. I got a couple more actually. I see. I've set some more over here. I'm not done. It looks like in 4 swords there will be an intermission while I move this pile off and move others on. So this is an antique pulwar, I believe. And it's super cool. This is an older, I can't remember. It's like an Afghani pulwar, I think, but it's on the old side, and it has what you're not going to be able to see in the camera here is a really cool looking Damascus pattern. It's really pretty nifty looking. and I like it. And my stupid sausage fingers look like it's trying to swallow the swallow the grip. There's a tulwar. Again, this one also has a really cool Damascus-y pattern on it. Where can I? Next one. Is that a horse sword type? Which one? I don't think so. The Polwar and Tulwar? I don't believe so. I mentioned they could be used from horseback, but I know the Polwar is predominantly like an Indian sword, and I don't think they were used predominantly on horseback, but the large curve would indicate it. You know, I guess a lot of sabers tend to feel this way. It doesn't have a very forward weight, though. It doesn't feel like a cavalry sword would, and I don't think that's how they were used. But I guess I'm far from an expert in that regard. This is the Albion Sovereign, a sword that I absolutely love the look of. It is actually Matt Hall of Matt's Great Hall made a review on this sword not too long ago, and his thoughts are very similar to mine in that I think that this sword is absolutely stunning looking, and I don't like the way it feels. I've had the Yeoman, and I prefer that one. And the more I think about it, the more I like the Yeoman more. This is not a, I don't know. There's something that's missing in the feeling of the sword. But in terms of aesthetics, it's I think my favorite looking Albion sword. I think it is just gorgeous. I love the kind of octagonal upswept crossguard that has a little point. How they match and run into the double fullers. The big wide blade is reminiscent of the Sword in the Stone Disney movie that, I don't know, like it's one of the first swords I remember. Just first sword that I remember. But the grip, I don't like it. It doesn't lock in the same way. The pommel rides my hand in a way the wheel pommels typically do. And it feels hard to recover. It feels doopy in my hand a little bit in a way that other Albions just haven't. It's kind of a strange thing, but it's not that it's the worst. I'm sure other people have liked it, but to me, the Yeoman was a superior feeling weapon. This, however, is very fine wall art, and so that's what I use it for. I love the way it looks, though. I love the way it looks. This is me keeping the sword just because I think it's so pretty, which is a rare thing for me. Usually, if a sword doesn't feel right in my hand, it's one of the predominant reasons that I'm ready to move it along. And even if they do feel really good in my hand, like the Ledemoh Gununting, I'm not always in love with them for that. But this is so pretty. I just it seems to. I haven't put it up for sale, which says something. I reviewed it and hung on to it. Let's see. Joe, I've always had lack of trust in investing in Damascus blades. Anyone you have that do Damascus well in terms of katana or Euro blades for that matter? Well, these are antiques. So this Damascus is an old one. In terms of European blades or katana, I don't know. The folded steel stuff, if we just go folded steel, if you want a particular Damascus pattern, like you're seeing on a lot of the Chinese swords that I've reviewed lately, like the Chujin, if you mean that kind of pattern, I think there are companies that make katana out of it, and it's fine looking. One isn't necessarily coming to mind though, but I certainly like the folded steel Ryan sword that I got for $350 as a review sample. I thought that was a really attractive sword, and it was folded. And when I broke it apart and dipped it in something to etch it, it was clearly laminated and was what was described. Folded or Damascus European swords, though, nothing comes to mind really. It's not a feature that tends to get put on a lot of European swords. I know Dark Sword Armory offers like an Elite or something line that has it, but I haven't ever seen one in person. And I'm sure companies do. It's just not anything that particularly comes to mind. Okay, so now I am going to step away from the computer. I'm still going to go. I have a lot of swords to clean, but I have no more room to move. So I got to move all this stuff off, move some more stuff over, and that is what I'm going to do right now. So you hear sloping and kicking and punching in the background. It's just me moving. I won't be able to pay attention to the screen for a minute, but I'll be back in 5 or so with some more swords to do. Oh shit, there's another one. Let's go wait. It's fun. Smarter people would probably have like a pause button or a, hey, I'm sure Joe is looking at the screen over there like, Matt, what are you doing? You could do so many better things with your life. Use StreamYard, play a background video. Bad living, Matt. And you're right, Joe. Blame Ennis, he got me drunk. With all his super chats. Just getting another lot to do. I told you, YouTube friends, you were going to watch me do dishes. I'm sorry for the dishes happening off camera here. It's not really happening off camera, though. I'm just getting them all. This is from the wall behind me for anyone that has stuck around to watch. I'm grabbing the middle section. No stabbing camera. It's bad when swords clank together. At least when you don't want them to. No. Stay on your shelf. Yeah. Now, if anyone's watching still on YouTube, I assume everyone probably left because what kind of person doesn't prepare? But I don't have enough space to prepare. Kind of have to do it in batches. Okay. Still more. This will wait. This will do for the that'll do, pig. For the you're fine. So first, I'm back. All right. So got another batch. Plan is for people that are here, I'm going to clean this, then put it away, then grab another batch, and we'll have another intermission. Maybe. Or I'll probably have to stop because I'm running out of time. But I'll do it for another hour, and I'll get through as much as I can. That's the plan. All right. Scammer was back again. Shiesty Devil. Well, I appreciate. I don't see them, so that means I'm guessing everyone that's been moderated has been kicking the scammer out. So I appreciate that. Fatosa the Ham Slayer. Incidentally, your name is fucking awesome. How often do you disassemble your katana for cleaning? Notice you haven't this time. If I use them, if I'm cutting with them, then I disassemble them for cleaning most of the time. Not always. Tatami and stuff like that doesn't usually have stuff that runs down the handle, so I don't feel it necessary every time. But I would say if I'm cutting like water bottles or something that is going to get down in there, then I pull it apart and clean it. But otherwise, I generally don't. And when I do kind of this type of maintenance cleaning, if I haven't used the sword, I also generally don't. So I don't have a schedule for it. That's basically it. I do from time to time, but there's swords that I haven't had apart in years to clean. I just wipe the surface off and leave the tang. All right. Well, anyway, plan is I'm going to clean this as much as I can. If you have a question for me, throw the @MattJensen thing on there. It shows up as bright orange on my screen. It really helps me. If I miss your question, I apologize because I've got greasy hands and shit to do. So I'm sorry, but I do value the questions and I want to get to them all, but I'm probably going to miss it this time. Omega, opinions on metal saya fittings, more specifically mouth Koiguchi of the saya. Being a metal one. Generally speaking, it's just a ring, so then the top ends up being wood. So as you're doing no-toe, the tip doesn't like scratch in. Some of the Hyper Cafe fittings, though, are metal, and it's just like a metal cap, and so it scratches when you do no-toe, it's goofy. I don't mind it really either way, though. I think that the metal ones have like a really handsome look to them, but they're a little less comfortable. I think for no-toe, it's easier to scratch them and potentially have some issue with the blade. But it's a small chance, and I haven't found it to be problematic either way. All right, first sword for cleaning. This is the 3V blade that Sword from Matt sent me that I broke, and I did while I was sharpening some swords and kitchen knives. I flattened the tip out, did this, got rid of the spikes down at the base here, and kind of made sure that it was straight. It's also been sharpened again, so now it is back to stupid sharp. I don't think 3V rusts a lot. The scabbard, it had like something that flowed, and I just chopped it off and filled it with duct tape. This is not really a sufficient scabbard, but now it is kind of a nifty, goofy chopper. It reminds me of the spear of Neruda from Hellboy. It kind of has like that same. I don't know. I don't know why it reminds me of that, but anyway, it does. That's what it reminds me of. Oh, don't tip over. Okey-doke. I've been taking the suit off every time. Also, thanks to the compliment, stole the idea from Ronin Kitchen. Fair enough. Where should I start? Let's do this. This is a recent acquisition from Sword Friend Jack. I bought a Skydro scallop from him on SBG, and he had some other bits to send me. I gave him a bit for the shipping, but he said he didn't need these swords and kind of donated them. So I will basically be doing something with them. This is a Musashi, I think. I think this is Musashi. He's used it a little bit, but don't really have much. Don't know much about it. He's used it a lot, from what I can tell by handling. So it has a worn feel to it, but I don't mind it. We'll see how it cuts a little bit later. It could be something else. I can't remember which ones these are. This is another one, same as the other from Sword Friend Jack. I bought the scallop, but he sent me these swords and these two katana and a ninjato as well. And I don't remember. This one says Musashi on it, so it's a little more obvious, but It's a Musashi brand katana. So I can do some fun katana v katana stuff. A Sinner, did you ever steal that? Did you ever see that crazy wide, supposedly super tough katana themed blade with modern type of handle? The guy cutting 3 to 4 inch tree branches. I believe that was Dan Keffler. He makes something called like the Super Assassin, I think, and it was. I've seen that katana from him, and that's kind of what gave me the maybe misconceptions of what 3V was capable of doing. But his swords are really, really cool, and I have seen that kind of modern looking katana from 3V, and I think it's Dan Keffler, and I still really want one, but you know. Hey guys, join up Matt's Patreon to support his grid. Don't join my Patreon. I do have a Patreon, and I have a video there that says I'm not planning on using Patreon. I do have a membership on YouTube, so if you want to do a membership, it's 99 cents, and the only perk is that you get some early access to things. So lately, no promises that it'll continue, but I've been uploading things in batches, and then I have a little bit of runway if I miss a week or two to play with the algorithm. So you see some things a little bit early. That's really most of it. But yeah, it's 99 cents. There's nothing that you really get for it though. So if you want to support it though, then that's the way to do it. And that's it. But honestly, I don't need your money. So so I appreciate if you want to support me. I genuinely appreciate it. I try to put it towards the channel and stuff, but I am blessed. I'm employed, insured, and loved. And if you are in a position where you need your money for things, then please use it for yourself. Buy swords that you enjoy. I don't need it. I like it, but I certainly am not in a position of need. So for what that's worth. Thank you for the plug, though, Joe. I appreciate it. Where's Anathar? Anathar took a trip. We'll have to see where it goes. There was a little in the last video. You got to see something. You got to see something about what's happening. I don't know what's happening right now with Anathar, by the way, but we'll find out. Omega, I've got a Musashi that looks like it was like my second real sword. It's the tightest in my collection. I bought it and haven't lacquered it or anything. That's good to hear. I've played with a couple of them from Musashi, and they were pretty good. I should reach out to Peter. He was going to send me some more stuff, but it just didn't materialize. All right. Where to start? Left, right, top to bottom. Okay. The Steward in Albion needs lots more COP because these are thirsty. They are dust magnets and rust magnets, and regardless of how often I clean them, they seem to rust. But anyway, they're still so pretty. I like this sword. I don't like the wheel pommel because I'm not a fan of them, but I like the way it feels. It's more of a cut-centric sword, and I feel it in my hand, but it feels controllable, and I haven't gotten a chance to play with it much, but I really do like the way it feels. I like the octagonal grip. I like the way it looks. Just wheel pommel. That would be my only personal observation about things that I'm not a big fan of, but Albion Knight. And this, we've got, thank you. Who's doing it? Joe, thank you. You're kicking out Naked HD ZX. Ooh, overpriced something. Thank you for giving them the boot. I don't know why when you report like, hey, I'm getting spammed with porn, that it doesn't say like maybe we shouldn't let them do stuff anymore. But anyway, this is an Albion Knight. Thank you to the people kicking the pornsters out. I have this monetized, so if I don't do it like Toot Sweet, YouTube gets mad at me. So I appreciate the help on it, especially giving me greasy fingers. Maybe I shouldn't say greasy fingers. Maybe that's what's attracting the pornsters. Anyway, Albion Knight. I like it. It's pretty. got a scuff on it. I don't know where that came from. Oh, is this leftover taco juice or something? What's this? It's not a real scuff. Okay, just something. Anyway, don't like it. Don't like the Albion Knight. That's my takeaway. I'll do a review on this thing eventually. I really want to because I want to sell it because I don't like it. It feels dynamically fine, just wheel pommel, simple look, and I don't. Out of the Albions that I've had, it just doesn't strike a chord as particularly special or interesting to me. So I will be eventually doing a review that says basically what I just said, that it's everything you'd expect from an Albion, but I don't like it, but I will take a half hour to do it. Okay. What's next? This is an Arms and Armor German longsword, German broadsword, German. I have 9 toes now. So this again is one of the earlier ones, and it is big and scary and cool. I like it. This isn't a wheel pommel. It's a big nutsack. It's a big ball, but I don't find that it like rubs my hand in a way that's as uncomfortable, and I can grip it and do fun stuff with it, not have it knock into my hand. So I don't mind this one so much. I happen to like this sword, actually. It's a bit on the heavy, clumsy side, but it's also really big. And like as soon as I put 2 hands on it and start to move it around, I feel like I could do something with it competently. I've also seen them customized in a way that looks kind of neat. It's made me think about having a scabbard made and stuff for it, but I never quite did. Yeah, I know, Joe. I appreciate you keeping on it. This is a cold steel German something. I can't remember. Feeling wise, it feels similar to the Italian longsword, but not as good. The grip I like more. It doesn't have the same characteristics. Like it's not loose, and I like the spiral grip on it. It feels reasonably comfortable. It's got a bit of a seam on it, but it's not so bad. This big swept hilt thing, I'm not a fan of. And this crossguard, I can't show it to you in great detail here, but I don't know. I think if I whacked it, this ring would pop right off. It looks like it's tack welded. I don't think it's going to be sufficient to. Don't knock swords over. My knees work fine. I don't need the doctor. Yeah, this ring looks like it's tack welded on. I don't think it's going to hold up to any real scrutiny, but I like the fluted pommel area here. I think it's handsome in a way. The blade, I think, has some potential for customization. I haven't used this, and neither did the person that owned it before me, but it came with like a loose, kind of rattly crossguard, so not ideal. A scabbard is not so bad, kind of classy looking, but just overall, the crossguard is not my favorite, and I don't know why. Cold steel generally tends to be overbuilt, so I find it kind of surprising that this looks as structurally unsound as it is. I'm half tempted. This is again one that I'd like to sell, but I'm half tempted to kind of whack it and see if it breaks. But then I am out money if I do that. So, but also it's kind of the thing I do. So decisions. This is a Hanwei Banshee I purchased recently, and I have the lacquer. The handle disintegrated in my hand. On my Instagram, I have a photo of it coming off on my hand. So I, did something phallic with it and rubbed off all of the fake leather, and what was left was some sort of nylon cord, which I then lacquered shittily. Anyway, it's a Hanwei Banshee. I'm going to reserve my thoughts about it, though. There's a group of creators called Unsheathed Sword Reviews, and they have a Hanwei Banshee as well, and we're going to do some fun collaboration at some point. So, check out their YouTube. I didn't clean it, did I? What am I doing? Anyway, I'm here to clean stuff. I get to talking. Don't shut up. Did I clean it? Anyway, Unsheathed sword reviews. We're going to do some sort of collaboration on it. And I'll talk about it then. It's kind of a fun sword, though. Joe, I spoke to Albion a couple days ago. They're 1 year in they're 1 year in production. They do offer a payment plan. I may need to talk to some recommendations. Absolutely. Happy to anytime, Joe. Center, what's your best non-Japanese knife-like cutter out of all the Euro blades? I wouldn't have a clue. Non-Japanese, non-knife cutter-like. Non-Japanese, I like Compilon is another one that I like, and I have 3 of them here that I'll clean in just a second, but Compilon, I really like the way those cut. Non-Japanese cutters as well. Those Messers were very effective cutters. I really like those. I don't own a Messer. Don't have one here at the moment. The Songdao from LK Chen, the one that broke at the hilt, that was an amazing cutter. That was also a really, really good one. I happen to really like it. It obviously had some issues, but I did like it before it exploded. Anyway, yeah, those would be some that come to mind as pretty good cutters for what I do. Banshee on the end of a 5 foot. It does have a naginata kind of look, doesn't it? Do you like European swords more or Japanese style swords more? Or does it depend on what you're doing with it? I like Japanese swords more. I don't think they're better. So to clarify that, like I've been interested in them for a long time. I've studied them more. I do Iaido regularly, and I'm more invested in them. And so I would say that doesn't inherently mean I like them more, but I'm certainly more devoted to it. So I would say that I like European swords. I like the history, and it's not very far behind in terms of but I like all the swords. I like European swords. This is a Burmese Da. I like that. I like Compilon. I like if it's sharp and shiny. I generally tend to like it, but I think it's certainly fair to say that I do custom katana projects a lot. I practice Iaido a lot, and I'm more involved in that. So that's probably why I would say that I like Japanese swords more. If I have 2 of them next to each other and I'm not using them and I'm admiring them, it depends on the sword. There's some Japanese swords that are shitty and some European swords that are absolutely amazing and super detailed, and vice versa. And it just depends on the thing. I really like details and craftsmanship and elegance and I love how they got to what they did without knowing the science that we do now and being able to explain it the way we can now. So I find all that stuff fascinating, but it really depends on the object. If I have a mediocre example of a Japanese sword and an excellent example of a European sword, I'm going to prefer the European one. That's going to draw my attention. This is some sort of cane stick, something that's not sharp, and I don't think it's heat treated. All right. There's the Albions. This is the Albion Steward, and I do like this one. It feels good in my hand. It has, I think, I feel like I can get the tip where I want it to go better. So I happen to like that feeling. It doesn't feel like it would be terrible in the cut either. The wheel pommel, for some reason, doesn't ride my hand as much. I don't know if it's thinner or tapered or what's going on, but when I strike out with it, it doesn't jut into the fat of my hand. Every now and again, there's a wheel pommel that doesn't hit me the same way and make me angry. And this happens to be one of them. So I like the Steward. That's why I would sell the Knight, and I would probably hang on to the Steward. All right, Compilon. This is a Compilon, and it is seeing better days. I haven't bothered doing any kind of restoration work on this one, but it has a really cool Damascus pattern in it, and it's just kind of obscured and hard to see. Compulon, I think, were cool. This is supposed to be the sword that decapitated Magellan, I think. They have wooden handles, and this is supposed to be a crocodile or some sort of deity. I can't remember the exact deal. I studied Filipino martial arts, and this was the longsword that we used to practice, and so I know more about swinging it around than I do about the history of it. But it's got a crossguard that sometimes has this thing called a staple, and I guess there might have been chainmail or a leather covering or something that would go over your hand as some sort of hand protection. Not the same thing as a basket, but something to keep your fingers from being chopped off. This one is an antique. You can see it has some distal taper. It thins out. It's not as tip heavy as it looks, but these are swung out. Some people use them with two hands, but I was always taught with a single hand, and I think they're cool. They have this characteristic barb on the back. I've never actually seen an antique with a big enough barb to do the techniques effectively that I was taught, but some people say it's for picking up skulls off the ground, as if that's a big problem. But the barb would hook this way, and I was taught to use it as something like you would half sword and grab or hook or pick at things or pull things, use it. But obviously this little nub on the back isn't sufficient to do that. So I've never actually seen one that I thought I could competently execute that kind of technique with. But in terms of throwing it out and doing cuts, they are a lot of fun. Very weird in the hand, but I had some time to get used to them when I practiced Filipino martial arts more actively, and I kind of fell in love with the shape, and I really enjoy Compulon now. It's one of my favorite kinds of swords. There's a goofy, doofy looking thing that I'd never heard of when I started studying Eskrima, and after practicing for a while with it, I don't know, something about the Compulon struck a chord with me, and I really enjoy them. So anyway, there's the longer one. It's kind of coming unraveled a little bit, but again, a nice Damascus-y pattern, really stout at the base, tapers out really thin towards the tip, and the way you throw them out is kind of anyway. I can't do it in this spot, but I like Compulon, and those are examples of Compulon. I have a modern one down there I'll get to in a second. I was wondering what one of those was with the cool handle. Compulon, it starts Kaimpilan. I suck at spelling, but I know it starts with a K, so it's called a Compulon. Kampilan, I think, maybe. Yeah, Compulon are a little different. So those are antiques, and so I'm a little bit more hesitant to do any kind of Mother's Maggie restoration on them. That's not helping the value, and so I don't. But like steel wool to get the rust off, just some people don't. I'm not really qualified to do restoration work, so it tends to pull away from the value, and I'm hesitant to do that. So I preserve what's there with CLP. I don't think I even need to wipe this down. This is a stainless steel sword from Marto of Spain, and it is the dumb. Yes, this is obnoxiously heavy. It doesn't feel good in the hand. There we go. I'm going to stop. This is the Albion Tyroline. I'm probably saying it wrong. I think that's how you pronounce it, but I've been pronouncing it that way for a while. I don't have the leather bit that goes on this sword. I like this more than the Maximilian. I like the doorknob handle on the base. These are heavy swords. I like the crossguard. I like this sword. I like it a lot. I don't like necessarily this big. This grip is enormous. So if you look, and I try to grab, like here, if you can see where my hand, I can't, like, it's hard for me to close my grip. Do I have another sword around to contrast it with that somebody might be familiar with? Okay. Anyway, it's a big grip, hard to grab onto, but I like it. It's big and scary. And the Albion Maximilian. Yet another big old sword. This is more expensive than the Tyrolean. I think it has kind of it's a little bit more ornate a guard. I don't mind this pommel. I like the octagonal grip, and I can actually fit it in my hand a little bit better, but I don't like it as much. I've been asked a lot to review this sword, and I will, because I want to sell it. And before you ask, I have a lot of people that want to buy it already. So it's probably spoken for a few times over, but I don't like it, and I haven't gotten to reviewing it because the Skolagrim's made one. You've seen, I think Phil Martin has done some cutting with it. There's just been competent people that have already talked about it, and what I can say is it's everything that you think an Albion is, but big, and it's just not my favorite. I prefer this one. So, shortest review I ever did. This was supposed to be cleaning, not a review, but there's your Maximilian review. Okay, making progress. How does the Tyrolean grip compare to the Max? The Max is hexagonal, a little skinnier. I can get my hand around it. I almost think that the Tyrolean was like a mistake or something, because it got made really big, and I don't think that's the way it's supposed to. You'd have to have some sizable mitts. I have sizable mitts, and it's kind of obnoxiously big. So I don't know if that's the case all the time, but it's the case with the one I have. I think Mr. Easton talked about the context of Japanese blades and Western ones in terms of preservation. We Westerners like to keep the rust for empty. Well, I don't know. He's also cleaned things with steel wool, and he does some kind of basic preservation work on the stuff he gets. I'm just not sure where to draw the line with some of that stuff, so I kind of avoid the line and throw some oil on it so that it doesn't get any worse, and then I'm delaying that that decision, not really having to worry too much about it. Where am I? This is a Gian from Romance of Men. I was looking for more examples. You'll see a review on this eventually. Initial thoughts actually from getting this sword, round handle, so that's immediately kind of a weird thing. This pommel, I notice I can twist it off and it starts to loosen some of the threads. So again, a little strange, but it's really, really light. It moves around really comfortably. I thought it was going to be kind of a big clunky thing, and it's not. It's surprisingly comfortable. The center percussion appears to be a little bit lower maybe than it should be for a sword that I'd want to cut with, but it's a handsome enough looking sword. The scabbard is also kind of a beefcake, and seems like I could club things pretty well with it. Transitions and whatnot don't look bad, and the casting quality on things is also, it's not the best, but it's also not bad. I can see some details in there. So I was pleasantly surprised, because I thought it was going to be kind of a more mediocre piece, and I actually like it. So I'll do more of that later. What time is it? 2:30. This is the Ninjato sword from Jack sent. You might hear my kiddos. They're waking up, indicating that it is time for me to be done cleaning, and I'm not. Quick coat of oil. Ennis asked about daggers. This is one that I have. It is a sabersmith dagger, and it's, I don't know, it's doopy. It's not a great example, but if you had Renfest garb or something like that, it's fine. It needs oil, but not my favorite. It comes in these goofy wood scabbards. I don't think I'm going to get to cleaning the other katana that I have. I'll have to clean them later. I'm going to try and get through the pile I have here and probably stop, actually, because I have to bring the little one to a birthday party. So This is a modern Compilon from BCI, Blade Culture International. It looks like I've been neglecting it a little bit. It's got some rust that's popped up on here, so I probably need to set this one aside for some more deliberate cleaning. I really like the Compilon here. This is a special one. Swordfriend Corey a long time ago gave this to me as a gift. I think it was one of the first swords that somebody sent me as like a thank you for doing YouTube stuff, or just as a gift, and it was really cool. So it was really awesome to get it, and I've used it as the training piece. The BCI one bends a little bit. It's a little bit on the soft side in comparison to the TFW blade, which is strange. They both look like they're made of the same materials. They have the same geometry, which is a rather unique geometry for Compilon. It's not like this is the bog standard shape for Compilon. So I was really surprised that TFW blades seem to be a little bit more durable than this one does. No idea why. I have no idea if it's just a natural variation in coming from the same manufacturer, or if they're made of different material. I couldn't tell you, but they look the same. They feel very similar. But this one happens to be a gift that I got, and I've kind of treasured it since. So I've used it for training. Not a whole lot. It's held up really well though, and it hasn't loosened up. It's bent a little bit when I've done some stupid target cutting, which, as you might be aware, I'm known to do. But I've really appreciated it. It's also a handsome looking sword. Ooh, there's a wall of text here I haven't seen. Joe, got to run. Thank you. I watched the scammers. Much appreciated. Who else? Matt, that Compilon can use some. Yes, that one could use some others mag. That's for sure. It's a modern one. I wouldn't mind doing that. How does the Tyrolean grip? Oh, I'm reading too far back. I already covered these. What kind of wood is that heavy handle? What kind of wood is this one? I have no idea. I'm not sure. The BCI Compilon, it might say, but I'm not. I don't know the name of the wood. Quick fix for Nikago. I've been wrapping it in paper until I can get my new Suka made. Haven't used them for cutting this way. Is it okay to cut with paper shimmed in the Nikago? Yes. Otherwise, you can take a chopstick and thin it down, and you can glue it to the Nikago if you're okay with that, and then just file it down until it fits and is snug. That's another way to do it. If it's not anything precious that you're going to destroy or anything like that, then you can kind of put a shim in and then kind of sand it down and just glue it, and then you've kind of got a shim built in that can come in and out of the scabbard. It's a little janky, but I've had it work in a pinch. This is a Hanwei. I can't remember. Sorry for the loud noise. I know microphone audio is probably weird. Jian. I can't remember the name. But the neat thing about these is that they're supposed to be forged from like one piece. So it's an integral guard and hilt and all of that. It's forged out of one piece of steel rather than seated in. Originally, this would have been wrapped in Samegawa and have some on the scabbard as well. And I got this from in a lot of swords that I purchased from somebody on Facebook recently, Swordfriend Ian. Different Swordfriend Ian than the Messer Swordfriend Ian. And I like this sword. I did not think I would like it. I've seen photos of it. It was an obnoxiously expensive thing that Hanwei made, and I always thought it was stupid. And I have a cold steel knife that's like a drop forged single thing, and it feels stupid, and I thought it would be dumb, and it's not. It feels fucking amazing. I really like it, even though it has no handle wrap on it, and it's in a little worse for wear shape. The point of balance is pulled back, but it's not so much that it seems obnoxiously heavy. It's got kind of a stout feel where I feel like I could use this to parry and be defensive, even though it's a skinnier blade, and it tapers down in such a way that it really feels kind of competent, as if I wanted to put the pointy end in the other guy. And the fittings on here are what you would expect from Hanwei. They're really, really quite well done. So this is a really cool looking sword. It has a nice fuller that runs up about 3/4 of the blade, and I think this is an awesome sword. So I'm thinking I will probably I'll probably clean the blade up myself, but I'm not sure what to put on it to account for the missing handle material, but I'll find something, and that's a sword that I now really like. And it's one of the first Chinese swords that I've had outside of LK Chen that's a Jian and not like a Hanwei practice piece. And I think it's pretty cool. Or just leave them on the rack till the new sukas make. My son is tossing things. The thing you hear throwing, bouncing in the background, my son has found the laundry chute and is throwing my wife's cosmetics down the laundry chute. So that is then her in the background saying, please don't do that. Parenting. This I don't think needs oil it anyway. It's an old family heirloom, a military saber. Broke the Mikugi on my oldest blade. Good thing I've got good stuff to replace it. Yeah, I've heard old Shinai pieces, fire-hardened bamboo is ideal. This is a saber I picked up on Craigslist some time ago. It's a Civil War saber that's been, the little loop on the back has been cut off. It's missing the leather piece. It jiggles. It's stamped with PDE. I don't know what that is, and it's not particularly sharp. I don't know what to do with this, but it seems really fun feeling in the hand, and it's made of a steel that rusts, so it should be functional. I've been tempted to sharpen this and go out and whack stuff with it, but I wanted to first get an idea if I was destroying anything of real historical value before I did that. But it's a neat sword. It feels pretty cool in the hand. It's one of the coolest sabers I've felt in my hand. Military style sabers, anyway. Or modern military sabers. This is a Ronin war sword, one that I got from them a long time ago, did a review on. They asked me not to break it, so it's one of the first kind of things, review samples that I didn't end up breaking. And there's been very few of those up to this point, but this is one of them, and it's a really cool looking sword. I happen to like it. I'm a fan of the kind of double fullers. I like the way the double fullers transition into the kind of hexagonal cross section almost. It's kind of, that transition comes like right at the point of percussion. But anyway, handsome sword. I like it. The Ronin fittings don't rust. These quillins have shown to bend. This is a stout sword, though, and I've always debated going back and doing another review now that I have some competency in sharpening. That was really the weakness of the sword. It didn't cut particularly well, but it has the edge profile to take a really good clean edge. And I think now I'm in a place where I could serviceably put one of those on. And so I've thought about doing that. But naturally, there's a pile of other swords that you've probably seen me talk about that I haven't reviewed, so it kind of takes a back seat. Would you make Mikugi from scratch? How would you make Mikugi from scratch? I got a blade, but the Mikugi bit is a clunker. It's that stuff you get from the market. So if you go on Craigslist and there's any kind of Kenjutsu club or a kendo club around you, you might be able to find an old broken shinai. Or if you have a kendo club and you ask them if there's any broken shinai, that's like the bamboo rod that they use to whack each other with. And it comes in little strands. So you get fire-hardened bamboo that way, cut it down, whittle it until it's in something that resembles a small cylinder, then load it in a drill and hold a little sandpaper to it and sand it down to fit your needs. You can do the same thing with like a Delrin peg. You can do some things with a brass peg as well. I don't mind using like a brass peg either. Incidentally, this is the Albion Senpak. I think I sharpened this one up, and I like it. I like the Senpak. I think I've talked about it. I talked about this when I reviewed the sterling armory pieces, I think. I compared this to the Type 17 that they had. Okay, where am I? This one you might have seen in a video not too long ago when I talked about big swords. Where's my rag? This is the Ronin Katana Crom Killer, but there's other offerings like this. So if you watch that big sword video that I did, I think I linked something similar on Cult of Athena for $200-something. It's massive. It's fun to move around. This one doesn't have a wire. I think the ones now don't have the same wire handle, but this is, you're not missing much. Anyway, cool big sword. Weird to move around. This one, as I recall, is not particularly sharp. I don't want to sharpen this one for reasons that maybe should be obvious. I think I'd go through about 12 belts if I tried to. Doke. And cold steel nagamaki. Sometimes they call it a naginata or odachi or nagamaki. It's referred to a few different ways. It's not bad feeling. I don't know that I would pay like $500 for one of these things, but it's not bad. Sometimes they would come up for sale secondhand for like $400 or something, and I think that's where I got this one. It's fun. It's a big giant sword. If Conan the Barbarian were more Japanese themed, this would probably be the type of sword. It moves around. It's reasonably agile. It's pretty fun. Yeah, I like the sword. And it's supposed to be kind of big, so I don't mind the cold steeliness of it. Right, I've got a couple more things that I'm going to do. Then I'm going to wrap up. I've got one sword, and then I'll pull down the nagamaki that I just got because I could use a coat of oil. This is one that was still there from last time. Child of Oren. So I keep this in a bag and then wrapped in paper because the lacquer isn't dry and I can't put it on a stand and I don't have a lot of wall space. So I keep it wrapped in newspaper because it doesn't bind to the lacquer that's curing. And then I put it in this bag to protect it from all the other swords so it doesn't get whacked into because I can't put it in a nice place. I'm going to use a cleaner rag for this one. I don't want to contaminate it with all the other sword energy, all the other plebeian swords. I really want to keep this one safe, so I'm being a little more generous with the CLP, but you don't really need a lot of this stuff. All right. Thanks to the tips on. Oh, we got pornographers running stuff in here again. Hang on. Hide user from this channel. Can I do that? See if that works. Hopefully you're not seeing nakedhd.x some post anymore. It's irritating. More boss to web. Thanks for the call out. Matthew Jensen, favorite sword films? Let's see. I will answer that momentarily. This is the last one I'm going to clean here. There's more to do, but I'm just not going to get to it in the time I have. Favorite sword films? I love The Princess Bride. I'd call that a sword film. It's fun and excellent. That's the first one that comes to mind. I've loved that since I was a kid. I think that's my favorite movie, in the sense that like I can watch it now as as a guy in his 40s, just like I could when I was 5, and still have fun with it and enjoy it with my family. Or if it's on and kids aren't around, I can still watch it and enjoy the film. I don't know. There's Star Wars. There's Revenge of the Ninja. There's Conan the Barbarian. There's tons of stuff that certainly. Count of Monte Cristo. That's another one. I enjoy that one quite a bit too. That one came out when I was an adult, so not that disqualifies anything, but I was more mature when I saw it. But still, an excellent sword film. I like the fencing there, though they did like smack a rapier and like pretend to cut it in half, but it was still cool. Anyway, I did want to mention this. This is a naginata, and not one that you would. I can't take the peg out. I don't have a tool to do it next to me. This is a Hanwei naginata, and at least I'm pretty sure that's what it is. It has kind of the characteristic difference in bohi, which is on the Hanwei naginata. This one has a slightly steeper curve, and I want to say it's a little smaller than I've seen before. And the fittings, which, because this is on a big giant pole, I can actually just reach it over so that you can see the fittings on it are a little different. They're not kind of the same one color brass cast fitting. It's got a floral theme to it, and the pole must have been sitting in a corner, because I don't know if you can see, but it's a little bent. The shovel on the end here is also turned and filed down and is a lot more robust than the current one, but the pole is round, so can't index it for shit. It's also ergonomic, like my shovel handle for winter. Whacking it into things, and it's got better fittings. I hadn't seen this, but I got this on Craigslist along with some of the other swords that you've seen here. The maybe antique or maybe tchotchke Burmese da, this marto sword, the little cane stick thing. There's like a mace over there and some other bits. Anyway, this is what I was after, because naginata are few and far between, and it looked interesting, like something I hadn't seen, but it was on Craigslist for $60. So it's cheered me up. It was a great start to the weekend. I found an awesome deal on this naginata. The tang has been cut down in like a weird way though, but it looks characteristic of Hanwei. So I'm not sure what to make of it. The tang is not as cool and not as prettily done as the last Hanwei naginata that I saw, but this is a Hanwei naginata, and I don't know. It kind of looks like it's made out of their railway steel, I think. The blade itself is straight. The shaft is messed up, and the fittings, at least on the pole, are more applicable to a yari than they are to a naginata, except for the shovel on the end. And I can't index it, so it's not particularly good. I might have it reshafted, but I've been very happy with this. This is a real hell of a deal, and I like the shape. It's a bit big, but I like them big. Anyway, yeah, this has been a good one. Favorite sword films. Anyway, that is the last one that I think I'm going to clean. I got to stop and get ready to take daughter to birthday party, and then I will have to tackle more when I get home, or maybe save it for another stream. What do you think? Should I clean the rest on another stream? Has this been mildly entertaining? If it is, I thought I'd give it a try, but yeah. Anyway, I'm kind of out of time. So, well, if it is, then let me know in the comments, or if you're watching this, or if you can comment after it posts on YouTube, throw it in there. Let me know if I should save the rest for another stream, or return to my typical rambles in a different fashion. Anyway, that's it. That's the stream. Hopefully you think the nagi's cool. I'm gonna go whack stuff with it. I'm happy to have one. That's all I've got though. And so thanks everyone. Cheers. Cheers, and thanks for watching. Let's mess out my intro. Real sword, come back later. Okay. Save them. This was enjoyable. I'm glad. Thank you for the feedback, folks. But now I'm really going to end. So thanks again. Thanks again for keeping it lively. And thanks as well for keeping the porn stars out. Cheers.